right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show, Tennessee WildCast. Doug Markham, Jason Harmon. Introduce our guest just in a minute.
How's it going, Doug?
Are you fired up, man?
I'm ready.
Closer and closer to shooting time of year, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it's time for Tucker to go hunting.
Yeah,
or he might be a tad young yet.
No, I'm going to take him with me this year and just introduce him to it.
All right.
I think he'll enjoy muzzleloader season.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to take him to muzzleloader.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to remind everyone he might be literally too young. I don't know. We got the youth hunt coming up.
Yeah, he's too young for that.
And a little bit. And yet we have people say, can I take my 5-year-old with me? Of course you can. Not on the youth hunt, but just during the regular hunts.
Yeah.
As long as you're standing there, sitting there right with him.
Yeah.
Letting him enjoy your hunt, right?
Yeah, he probably won't be pulling the trigger. But,
no, probably.
Mama wouldn't like that.
No, she wouldn't. But he'd enjoy hanging out with Dad and seeing what Dad does.
He's been begging me ever since I said, you want to go deer hunting? He said, yeah, and turkey hunting and squirrel hunting. And
he's going to go.
He's ready.
All right. Well, when he gets to fishing, let me know. Okay.
Yeah. He enjoys that, too. He caught a nice one this year.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
bigger than anything you've ever caught.
Especially this year. That's for sure. All right. I went to Florida to try to end that, and I didn't do any good down there either. So this is a youth hunt coming up this weekend.
Yes.
So get your kids out 6 to 16. They have to be with an adult, 21 plus. Mm-hmm. And so make sure of that. But get them out. And there's a lot of youth events going on. We're going to talk about that some.
Someone there to take control of that firearm if something happens. You know.
That's right. And this long archery season, of course, you can keep hunting archery, using archery through the muzzleloader and gun stuff, because muzzleloader is going to start right after we get through with the kids hunt, a few days later. Mm-hmm. That'll get going. But during those periods, you can use archery anytime you want to, during the gun and muzzleloader. If there's a little break, I can't remember without looking at the guide. Right. I think there may be a 3 or 4 day break.
Archery hunters, make sure you wear your orange during the muzzleloader and gun seasons.
That's a good point. That is very good. That doesn't mean you can't put on orange during that gun and muzzleloader.
Right.
So for sure. But anyway, a lot going on with that, and a lot of small game going to be starting up here pretty soon. November will bring a lot of small game. We'll get a small game person or two on here.
Yeah.
And talk about that. We might talk about it a little bit today, as a matter of fact. Anyway, a couple of things we want to show you before we get with our guest. We want to remind everyone, we're going to show them the license. Just to remind you, this is going to happen on Halloween Day, October 31st. Mm-hmm. A few more days. Your licenses are going to change. You're going to be getting a piece of paper when you buy your license at a lot of agents, or if you do it at the house, it's going to look like that piece of paper that Jason's got up there. Mm-hmm. Some of you will still buy that old durable stock. There's 1,200 license agents in Tennessee. About 300 of them are still going to sell that thing that looks kind of like a grocery store receipt.
Yep.
A little more durable than those, though. So you'll still buy that in some. But if you want to come home after you buy that and get your piece of paper, I understand you can go online and do it.
You can print out as many of those as you want. It don't cost you a dime. And you can put one in each pack, in each pocket, in each glove box. You can have your license with you at all times.
That's right. And the cool thing, too, is you can also get it who doesn't carry these around now? You can also put it on this cell phone, and it works just fine. And you will get an email sent to you when you buy a license. And we'll be telling you all this again on March 1st, when most of you buy licenses. But some folks are buying this time of year in the fall.
Yep.
So, and then the app is important to us. Just if you've never gone to it, put it on your phone. About 300,000 downloads now of our app, and it's going to get better. We also want to remind you about and we might get Richard to talk about that a little bit today, but we can talk, we want to remind you that there are shooting places, shooting ranges that you can go to, all across the state. And this one's at one here in Middle Tennessee, but they're east, west, they're all over the place, and they're public ranges that the agency operates. Go on our guide and you can see what they are. And a lot of them, we talked about this earlier in the year, are referred to as, I think, Tier 1
unmanned
ranges. They're unmanned. Mm-hmm. And those now, if you buy a hunting license, you can go shoot without having to buy a permit for those anymore. Okay, They're not manned. This particular range is Stones River you're looking at, and it's a manned range, and it still costs permits to go do that because there's a lot of activity going on. But there's a lot of unmanned. When one comes to mind in Middle Tennessee is Yanali. Mm-hmm. It's unmanned, and you can go shoot on that range without having to worry about a permit. We also have coming up here in a few weeks, and we're going to do a podcast from there. We'll get Todd to go with us and Jason, and we're going to go up to in Kentucky with our friends in Kentucky. They're trying to bring a lot of attention to these Asian carp we have, and these are silver carp that we found in the Duck River a few years ago. See how big they get, and then you multiply that one by like 1 billion. I'm exaggerating, but by a lot of fish, these things are really reproducing in our rivers, and they are filter feeders. They're taking a lot of that good algae or they're not algae, but the micro
organisms
out of the water, and it's the beginning of the food chain. And we're worried about these things. And so we're working with Kentucky in a few weeks to try to bring attention to what we're doing, what Kentucky's doing, how sportsmen can help us, how maybe commercial netters can help us knock these things back in our waters because they're in here and we want to get rid of them.
And in the photo, I just noticed this. There's our two fishery chiefs right there working with these fish.
That's exactly what. That was on the Duck River here in Middle Tennessee a year or two ago. You see, and they get bigger than that one. That's a silver carp, and they even get larger than that. And the ones that jump are the ones that we're really worried about, and that's these guys right here.
Right. Yeah. They'll cause
it's also a big-headed carp that causes problems.
Big problems when you start jumping out of the water like that in the large numbers.
They will. All right. Any other current events we need to hit before we move on?
We're still out there on Facebook. We're out there on Twitter, posting new stuff every day, all across the state. We're on now one Facebook. We had regional Facebooks, but now we're just one big Facebook. You can find everything you want to know about us in one spot.
Yep.
So
yeah, come in here. It's got some cool stuff from all across the state. It's looking really good. And you did mention the hat. We're gonna give some hats away, right?
Yeah, we'll give away a hat and some shirts this week. Like and share this show. We're gonna post it on Facebook, and we'll give away some hats and shirts. I don't know how many we'll give away, but we'll draw some names.
We'll make up that. We'll decide.
We'll throw in a few stickers too. Put them on your bumper and advertise.
All right. Yeah, we need you to do that. All right. Let's
stick them on the cooler or whatever.
Let's pull out and show Richard.
Yeah.
All right. Richard Kirk works down in our regional office, though he's been all over the place in this agency, been here for a while. And Richard is we call him the manager he's over the wildlife programs in Middle Tennessee, Richard. Is that close enough?
That's right, the 25 counties, Middle Tennessee.
All right. And Richard, before did that, you did a lot of work with other things. You've worked with non-game or watchable wildlife, and now you're down there working with, if it's wildlife, you're working with it.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate you inviting me up here. It's taken a while. I guess you've worked through your A-list people, and now you're working on your B and C list people.
Well, episode 35.
No, we're way past B.
There you go.
Episode 35 went now.
Yeah, episode 35 today. So.
Yeah. No, Richard, you're always a great guest. I've had Richard on with me on previous shows that I've done. I appreciate you coming up here, and I didn't give you much notice. You're probably watching the Titans when I sent you a text. Anyway, thanks for coming in. You got a lot of wildlife management areas in your place. You got a lot of youth hunts going on those, and let's talk about those first because they're coming up so quickly. What's going on?
Sure. WMAs that are open to statewide season, the youth hunt's going to be the same dates. It's October 29th, 30th. And I just want to plug, too, that's coming up. But we also have in January, at the very end of the season, we'll have another youth hunt.
Right.
Yeah, the 14th and 15th of January. But there's several counties and WMAs that are having youth events this year. And I'd like to give them a plug if I could.
Sure, absolutely.
The Lincoln County Hunting for a Cure.
Leith Conundike.
Leith, yeah. It'll be at the fairgrounds. On Friday night, there is an auction at 6 o'clock at the fairgrounds where they're going to raise money for St. Jude's. They do it every year, raise quite a bit of money for St. Jude. In Giles County, Fellowship of Christian Hunters, we'll have an event there out of the Richland Trace Market.
Okay. The two Davids working on that, officers there?
They do that every year. New one this year, Dixon Sportsman Store on Highway 46 there in Dixon.
All right, good.
Yeah. In Sumner County, it's the North Sumner Youth Deer Rally. Going to be at the Farm Depot up there. A big one every year in Coffee County, the Coffee County Youth Deer Rally. It's at the fairgrounds there in Manchester. And then on WMAs, Cheatham WMA will always has an event with hot dogs and whatnot. And Bear Hollow as well always has an event at the campground there on Highway 16.
Okay, and want to remind Richard is representing Middle Tennessee, the 25 counties here, but this goes on all over the place, Richard, across the state. And you just either look at our website or get in touch with your local regional offices and see what's going on in your area of the state. But those lines don't mean that you can't come.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You come across those lines and come into Middle Tennessee if you want to. That's a lot of events.
It is. And you know, it means a lot to the community. It means a lot to families that can get out and take their kids, daughters and sons, fishing and hunting. Just getting kids involved in the outdoors and and sporting events. That it really does add to a family's recreation.
Okay, and we talked about that a little bit last week with Jim Stroud, great volunteer, and he talked about that some, Richard. He talked about how once you got some of the other folks involved, especially he said the wives, then the whole family seems to get involved with some of these events. Get the kids going, mom will follow, get her involved, and hey, you just don't know. We just want to get you outside. We want you to get off of these some and go outside and
buy your license on that, and then just go out.
And leave it in the truck. All right, let's talk also, Richard, about some of the wildlife management areas have. Unless you want to hit on something else real quick.
Now I'm ready.
Okay, Richard is part of his job is working with other folks in the agency who help manage our wildlife management areas across the state, and in Richard's case, Middle Tennessee. And these are public areas that are open for you to go hunting on if you have the right permits and licenses and all that kind of stuff. They're all in our guide. They're all listed out there in alphabetical order by region. Easy to find. But let's talk about some of them that you have in the mid-state. Let's start with Percy Priest.
Okay, Percy Priest. Percy Priest is a unique area, and it's about 10,000 acres that surround 14,000 acres of water in Percy Priest Reservoir. But what's unique about it being so close to urban environments, Davidson County, Rutherford County,
Nashville, Tennessee.
Murfreesboro. It gets a lot of pressure from just in its location. Hunters don't have to go very far. They can, in some situations where their subdivision backs up to WMA boundary, they can just basically walk out their back door and hit the WMA and do some hunting. Right now, in fact, I checked the harvest records last night, and Percy Priest right now is leading WMAs in Region 2 with harvest during the bow season.
I want to remind everyone, too, as you look through the guide and you see these different WMAs, definitely look at what restrictions there might be or special regs, I guess I should say regulations. Percy Priest, for example, you're not allowed to use a rifle out there. Is that correct?
Right. Percy Priest is divided up into 2 units, Unit 1 and Unit 2. Mm-hmm. Unit 1 is archery only. Unit 2 is archery, obviously during the archery season, but during muzzleloader, it's muzzleloader. During the gun season, it's archery, muzzleloader, shotgun.
Okay, so shotgun, you go out there with a slug and hunt with a shotgun. Is that because it is sort of more congested area, and so it
is. We've prohibited the use of high-powered rifles out there.
Okay, I will tell you, years ago, 7-8 years ago, working when I was down in Region 2, a guy came up toward the end of the season with a deer. He brought it to our regional office to get checked in. It was the biggest deer I saw all year. It was taken off a Priest, and this guy was hunting heavy cedar thickets. It may get pressure, but if you do your homework, there's a lot of deer out on Percy Priest.
There are, and the pressure is actually providing somewhat of a service because again, being close to the urban area, deer sometimes get in the flower beds and that kind of stuff. So a lot of pressure and a good harvest on a WMA close to an urban situation is good.
And while we're on that, this isn't deer; it's duck, it's waterfowl. That in cases like a Percy Priest, can hunters go out there during the waterfowl season and hunt on that lake? It doesn't have blinds on it. So is it open to hunting?
Yes, it is. It is. Now, Old Hickory, Cheatham Lake, AEDC, Woods Reservoir, those we do have blinds and we have drawings first Saturday in August to it's a hand drawing, lottery kind of situation that you get your name pulled out of a barrel and get to pick your blind. So those situations. Priest is more, there's no blind sites or anything. It's just, go where you can.
Gonna go scout, go tip a temporary blind if you want to. You can't build permanent blinds out there, right? Okay.
One thing I want to mention with that and with all WMAs, you can't hunt within 100 yards of a visible dwelling. So you do have to keep that in the back of your mind.
Okay, so that is important on a Percy Priest WMA.
Absolutely.
So if you walk out your backyard, don't hunt within 100 yards of your neighbors.
Any visible dwelling, Any
visible dwelling. Okay, Percy Priest is a good place. You established that. Let's talk about Old Hickory. Been around a long time. Old Hickory Wildlife Management Area. We're on Lebanon, Tennessee.
Yes.
Cumberland River runs all through it.
Right.
Is it a good deer area? I know it's waterfowl. I think of it as waterfowl, but are there deer out there?
There's a few, and there are, and people hunt it. The only real restriction on Old Hickory is that it's going to be closed during the duck season. The sub-impoundments are going to be closed. So the season is shorter. But they'll kill 60 or so deer on Old Hickory in the short period that it's open.
I've had the opportunity to kill one on Old Hickory.
Oh, you have?
But a lot of it's boat access, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of land access to the...
Yeah, it's roughly 14,000 acres, I think, but only about 1,000 of that is accessed by land. You're going to have a boat, basically.
What about Cheatham? Then, so that's another waterfowl area. There's an upland at Cheatham, and then there's also a lowland or a waterfowl area on Cheatham. Same thing there on the at least on the waterfowl area.
It's drawn,
Right.
So you know.
I'm talking about deer in this case. Can you deer hunt on that area?
You can, but again, it's during when the late duck season opens up. It's going to be restricted. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about the upland, which is really it's a well-established, well-known wildlife management area. Cheatham. It's near Ashland City here in Middle Tennessee, and it's really hilly. Is it a good place to go hunt deer?
It's coming back. Back 2006, 2007. Well, let's say 2006. We were harvesting 225 deer on Cheatham. In 2007, and if you've been hunting very long in Middle Tennessee, you'll remember we had a pretty significant EHD outbreak, 2007, part of 2008. And it hit Cheatham really hard. It knocked the deer population back. We have restricted Cheatham to buck only. And
because of that? Because of the EHD?
Trying to protect those does and trying to build that population back. And it's taken a little longer than we had anticipated it should based on harvest. But also you have to consider, too, back in 2007, 8, 9, 10, there weren't that many, there were fewer deer out there, and that kind of drew fewer hunters. So the deer are coming back, and now the hunters are starting to come back. Last year, the last couple of years, we've harvested over 100 deer on the area. That's roughly, we're talking one deer per 150 acres or so. That's okay. That's pretty good. But we would like to see it, maybe back up to around 200.
Okay. There's a shooting range out there.
There is.
Would that fall under the Tier 1?
It does. It does.
So if somebody wants to shoot out there, don't worry about getting the permit. Go practice. Can you practice out there during the deer season, or is that discouraged?
At the range, yes.
At the range?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good deal. So it's coming back, and I want to mention, too, small game out there. I've squirrel hunted out there years ago. It's still a good place to go.
Oh,
do a little...
yeah. My last squirrel hunting trip was out there. Squirrels are cyclic. It depends on the previous year's acorn crop or previous couple of years' acorn crop, but Cheatham is a really good place to squirrel hunt. Speaking
of acorn crops, what are y'all seeing region-wide, Middle Tennessee-wide? Is it a good acorn yield?
Yeah, it is. There are some places, it's great. Some places a little less than good, but overall, region-wide, it's pretty good this year. Do
our WMAs, I know the ones that are wooded, hope that there's a lot of acorns that grow out there, but do they also plant food plots on most of our wildlife management areas? Does TWRA mostly do it?
Yeah, a lot of times we do, especially clover fields. Mm-hmm. We'll do clover fields. There are some areas that we'll put small strips of corn in. A lot of our WMAs we'll put mineral blocks out during the summer. So it's more of an attractant. It's more of an opportunity for hunters.
Okay. Speaking of, since we're in the hilly part, we're in Cheatham, let's move down Bear Hollow just real quick, because Bear Hollow is more than hilly, it's mountainous.
Yes.
Bear Hollow Wildlife Management Area in Franklin County, awesome place. I love going down there. I don't hunt it. I go down there and take photographs mostly with the guys that work down there. But tell us about Bear Hollow, and is it a good place to go because it is isolated? It
is, and you need to understand that when you're going to Bear Hollow, it is up and down. Bear Hollow will harvest 80 to 100 deer a year there, so it could handle some more pressure. But again, when you go, you need to understand that you kill a deer down in a holler,
you better be in shape.
A long drag.
Don't go down there not in shape. Okay, Bear Hollow, but it is a beautiful place to go and have. It seems like at a recent commission meeting, they passed a proclamation or whatever. We have more property added to it. Is that open for hunting yet? Wasn't a proclamation. They
expanded the budget.
Yeah. Thank you.
The most recent, not yet. Once it gets surveyed and we get the boundaries marked, and we'll have to get the word out on it. But I guess over the last, let's say, 4 years, we've added quite a bit of land down in Franklin County to Bear Hollow. Yeah. So, and that older land that's already been surveyed, already been posted, and all that, it is open. Yes.
Okay. And if you're going 24 in Tullahoma, past Tullahoma, going toward Chattanooga or coming up Chattanooga, somewhere between Swanee and Tullahoma, basically.
Yeah.
General area. That's if you're not familiar with it at all. All right, Richard. What about we have a new wildlife management area, relatively new in Hickman County.
Happy Hollow.
Happy Hollow. How about it?
Happy Hollow. We kind of have split regs on Happy Hollow in that archery season and muzzleloader season were open same as statewide, let's say, and but during the gun was quota permit only. So we did want to restrict hunters out there a little bit with firearms just to see how it went. During archery, muzzleloader and gun last year, not really any issues. No crowding or no conflict. So we're continuing to watch that probably for another couple of years. And if things continue to go well, we may leave it like this. If we think we can open gun up, we will. If we need to restrict muzzleloader more, we will. But right now we've got these regs in place just to see how it goes. See if this is the right combination for that area. It's not a large area. It's only about 1,700 acres.
Near Centerville, Tennessee.
Yeah, and you talk about up and down. It is up and down. And
I haven't been on that piece of land yet.
There's limited access. There's only one good ridge that has access. So if you want to hunt, the other ridge or other two ridges that are on the property, you're walking over there too. So.
Okay. All right. So we need a lot of people that are in shape on some of these WMAs because some of those flat areas.
One thing I'd like to say too on these WMAs, or just the agency in general, works really hard to provide public land for these people to hunt and fish, and we're trying to acquire land all the time. So that's one thing that we're trying to do for you, the sportsman, is to provide opportunity. And the real estate team's looking for land all the time. So
yeah, try to get you out there and get you hunting, Richard. And I noticed these WMAs aren't cookie cutter. You don't manage one the way you manage another one. I mean, they got different topographies, or their landscape are all different. Are you managing on how the land is, how the deer population is, how the population is around those? What do you manage each WMA based on?
Well, each WMA is probably managed more uniquely to that WMA. For Old Hickory and Cheatham Lake being primarily waterfowl areas. We talked about the Cheatham Upland, the situation there. AEDC is Arnold Engineering Development Center, is owned by the Department of Defense, so we manage that in cooperation with the Air Force, and so the Air Force has input and has their desires that we try to their training needs. When you get to Yanali used to be the Duck River area. It did. It's in Murray County.
Columbia. Okay.
Columbia. It's spread out. It's not really one big contiguous piece of land, so it's spread out. Williamsport is small. Williamsport has the fishing lakes. It also has a lot of
right down the road from Yanali.
It is. Okay. Has some non-traditional uses like horseback trails, and so we kind of take that into consideration. Laurel Hill, mentioned Laurel Hill. It's our quality deer management, let's say, area.
It is, and I want to get on that. Does every region have an area like a Laurel Hill? Are we trying to manage one or two areas across the state for trophy bucks? Probably
8 to 10 years ago, the commission asked the agency to see if we could find one area per region that we could see if some antler restrictions would start creating some more quality deer. And Laurel Hill was selected in Region 2
Middle Tennessee.
To be that area.
All right. And Laurel Hill is Lawrence County, near Lawrenceburg.
Northwest Lawrence County, yeah.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And, the regulations down there changed a little bit in the very beginning, kind of fluctuated. The last few years, it was 5 points on one side or a 15-inch spread. Pam McDonald is the WMA manager there. She's been there, I guess she's about her third year. And Pam does a good job keeping up with the harvest and what the data's saying. And I guess it's been a couple of years ago, and looking at the data, and at that time it was 5 on one side or 15-inch spread. The average points was 8.3, something like that, and the 15-inch spread. So what that was telling us is it was the 15-inch spread that was carrying that harvest. It wasn't 5 on one side. So if hunters are primarily harvesting 4-point deer that are 4 on one side deer with 15-inch spread, let's lower that antler restriction to 4 on one side, 15-inch spread, and see if we can provide a little bit more opportunity, a little bit more harvest. Yeah.
Okay, but it's still a nice sized deer.
Yeah.
And what did y'all tell them? How does the hunter tell there's 15-inch spread?
The main beams extend past the ears.
Okay, all right. All these, I want to talk about turkeys before we run out of time. All these WMAs and all the restrictions or regulations are listed in the hunting guide, correct?
Absolutely.
And if you have questions, you can call Richard, and we'll give you his personal phone number. It's you can call Richard in Region 2. All our guys are available through the regional offices, and you can reach them there. And this goes on across the state, right, Richard? There's folks in your position all across Tennessee doing the same thing with folks in the field and trying to do the best they can for what the sportsmen want. And
at any given time, there's 4 or 5 people in the office that are good at answering questions.
Okay, all right. Let's talk turkeys real quick. Mm-hmm. You are in an area of the state where there's been some thought that the turkey population may have dipped some in 2 or 3 counties, 3 or 4 counties down in the southern middle team. Long story short, it's led to some studies you were involved in a few years ago. Got some photographs of you working down there and taking some organs out of turkeys that we're studying to see if there's anything wrong with them. Tell us what you were doing and where are we with fast forward to today after that.
We started I guess getting a little concerned with turkey harvest in Wayne, Lawrence, and Giles County 5, 6, even 7 years ago, and started watching it and realized that we monitor harvest. That's what we use, and it takes at least 3 years to get a trend. 5 years is better, but we were getting concerns from local hunters with the declining harvest, and their concern was disease. So we partnered with the University of Tennessee to take organs, tissue samples from hunter-harvested birds in Wayne, Lawrence, and Giles, also Murray and Bedford, because harvest hadn't really declined much, and actually hadn't declined at all, and Murray had gone up, and Bedford, to kind of compare. And so for 2 years, we asked hunters to bring their birds into check stations. We collected our tissues, sent them off to UT to get analyzed. Had about a little over 200 birds sent to UT. And looking at that, a lot, just like anything, gets exposed to a lot of different diseases. You and I, everybody gets exposed. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean we have disease. But they looked at blood, they looked at tissue, they looked at a lot of stuff, and didn't really come up with a whole lot. Small, 3 out of 200, I think, had DNA from a protozoa called blackhead. But what that did was start us looking at.
Go ahead.
Started us looking at what really is going on with turkeys down there. What holistically is going on, because there's things that drive turkey populations and communities: competition, predation, disease. So we started a study with UT again, $1 million study of federal money,
right,
to look holistically at what's going on.
Okay, and I'm sorry to cut you short on that, Richard, but it's not money coming from sportsmen, right?
No, it's federal aid money,
and it's going to find out over 6 years what might be going on there, and it can be used across the state to help manage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, we'll get you. I'm sorry I shorted you on that some. But the news isn't bad. It's just not known right now.
Right. Well, the big picture. What's going on big picture down there?
Okay. All right, Richard. Thank you a lot.
Thanks, Richard.
Jason, thank you a lot. We'll be back next week.
Yep.
And watch all our Ode shows. Thanks, Richard.
Thank y'all.